A Quebec City mosque attacked.
Can't imagine awful things like that happening in here.
The Prime Minister, the Premier call it terror. 2 gunmen opened fire, killing 6 and injuring 8 more. 2 suspects have been arrested. We'll bring you the latest details on who they are. And a call for solidarity.
I'm hoping that everybody just comes together on this and shows again their support for the community.
Canadians and people around the world come together and share messages of support with the Muslim community. Good morning. You're looking live at Quebec City this morning. The scene of something unprecedented in this country. We have never seen anything like it in Canada. A deadly attack on people at prayer in a house of worship. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is calling the deadly attack on that Quebec City mosque a terrorist act. Quebec Premier Philippe Couillard as well, who adds simply, starkly, that horror exists here too. We have special coverage for you this morning. Quebec Provincial Police are expected to hold a news conference at some point this morning. The exact hour as yet undetermined, but we will bring that to you just as soon as it happens. And of course, ongoing coverage with people from the ground. Our lead reporter on the story is Ryan Hicks, who's in Quebec City this morning, just as close to the scene as we can. And we see over Ryan's shoulder again the police response as the investigation continues. What is the latest information this hour?
They've actually taken down some of the police tape that was here earlier, so they're making the perimeter a bit smaller. So we're actually going to try and get a little bit closer the next time that we talk. I just saw an email fly by because remember, day is breaking here and kids need to go to school. And I just saw one of the school boards in this area has said that they are putting in place support for students who may have been affected by the shooting, who may have loved ones who are victims, or who may simply just be members of this mosque. Some of the latest information we have about the hospitalized, about the wounded. We know that 12 to 14 people had minor injuries. They were treated at 2 hospitals. In one hospital, 6 people are in critical condition. We're also learning a little bit more about the suspects, and we're hearing from a police source that they could be students from Laval University. We also know that at this hour, police have been deployed to the mosques across Quebec City to give them added protection. We're also hearing about police activity at 2 residences in Quebec City. At least one of them is related to the shooting, and one of them is actually not too far from where I'm standing. Remember, this all started last night at 7:45. It was near the end of evening prayer. There were about 50 people in the mosque, mostly men on the first floor, women and children upstairs. 2 masked suspects entered the mosque, and at least one started shooting during the prayer. And we're hearing from witnesses that people were shot while they were in mid-prayer. We're hearing from other witnesses that they could hear the bullets flying overhead. We know that that there was at least one person who was shooting, and that person was able to recharge their automatic rifle at least one time during the shooting. Now, one of the suspects was arrested at the scene. Another one was arrested near Orleans Island, which is just on the outskirts of Quebec City. He had actually called the police to admit that he was one of the shooters. That resulted in a police chase and then his ultimate surrender.
Ryan, in terms of who these people are and the motivation, that as yet undetermined, there are many questions remaining. We don't have identities of any of the victims, and we don't have identities of either of the 2 suspects, or again, what might have led them to what police are calling this horrible mass murder, and what the Prime Minister and Premier are calling a terrorist attack. So a lot of uncertainty for the people of Quebec City as well. And what are you hearing from them as they too seek answers?
Well, we're hearing calls for solidarity. We're seeing spontaneous vigils pop up. We saw one a couple of hours just after the shooting where people came with flowers, cards, and posters calling on people to unite and calling for peace. And that was also the message of Quebec's Premier Philippe Couillard. Let's take a listen to what he had to say earlier this morning.
As I indicated, we have to keep working together, striving towards a open, inclusive, peaceful society. That's the right response to this type of terrible event. But obviously, Quebec is not an island in the world. It's part of this global world, which is troubled, violent, as we know. Until now, we have been relatively protected, but we have today to recognize that the world is not far.
But as you can imagine, after the shooting took place, it was quite chaotic around here. People trying to find out information about their loved ones, about their friends. Are they among the dead? Are they among the wounded? Are they okay? And a lot of that kind of confusion and chaos was happening at a hockey arena that's not too far from here, that kind of became a makeshift kind of command post where police were trying to give out as much information as they had.
We heard in that message from the Premier, Ryan, a real outreach, a message of solidarity and support to the Muslim community. In Quebec City, though, that community and that mosque particularly has not always been on the receiving end of something so warm and inclusive. It has, in fact, been targeted and has been threatened in the past. So let's bring some of that context. What else has happened there?
Well, most recently, during the holy month of Ramadan in June, someone left a dead pig's head on the steps of this mosque. Before that, they have been threatened. I've covered stories about this mosque being threatened before with posters, graffiti, vandalism, and that's why they installed surveillance cameras in this mosque. And what the director of the mosque said after the shooting is those surveillance cameras were on during the shooting, and so you can be sure that that is something that police are looking at.